Om Abhyanatimrandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurun Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagarjatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Satvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinapando Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarupasya Kripasindhope Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Welcome to the today's session, Matajis. Thank you for joining the class.
Thank you.
Can you all see the presentation?
Yes, we can see.
Okay.
No, I don't think the presentation is shared. I'm just seeing you.
Oh, cannot see the presentation? Mataji?
I can see.
I just shared the screen.
I can see it too. I can see it.
Okay. Okay, so shall we start? So in our last class, we studied about our soul, how the soul drives our body and what's our body is made up of. We have studied about the subtle body, mind, intelligence, and false ego, and the gross body, earth, that's made up of the five elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether. How the soul drives this body. So in this session, we will study about the ultimate genius. So I mean, since we understood that the soul drives our body, so is there anybody who drives this entire universe? There are so many things happening around us. So if we see sun is shining and the clouds are nicely raining and the grains are growing and the flowers are blooming and mountains have nice minerals, oceans have so many useful things like navratnas and all those things. So there's so many things happening around us. And so do you think there is somebody, ultimate genius, intelligent brain, the supreme controller behind this cosmic manifestation? Once Srila Prabhupada went to London, he was taking a morning walk along with some of his disciples, and he saw he stopped somewhere and he saw two houses, one house on the right side and one house on the left. The house on the right side is so beautiful, nicely maintained, well kept, immaculate, and nicely cleaned up, colorful, and the lights inside are turning on, and the garden outside is nicely kept. And the flowers are blooming in the garden. Everything looks so nicely. Whereas the house across the house looks so shattered, and it's almost like a dead condition. Nobody is living inside, and the garden was literally not maintained, and there's full of leaves and uncut, untrimmed garden. So he asked his disciples, so do you see any difference between these two houses? On one house, it is so lively and active and vibrant, whereas the other house is like dead. So everybody said yes, there is clearly a difference. It is one is lively and the other one is not so. So this one clearly indicates that somebody is living inside the house and who is the cause of the who is the reason why the house looks so nice and beautiful. Whereas on the other side, somebody locked out the house and they went away somewhere else, and nobody is maintaining the house. So it is not so lively. Then he asked a question. So do you think there is somebody who is maintaining this universe? So this universe is also so live and active. If we see everything around us, there's so many things. They are all live and active. Do you think the universe itself is being maintained by somebody? So the things around us, what's happening, the things that we just said, like the sun, rain, grains, the nice fruits, blossoming flowers, and all these things. Are we the reason why they are? Are we the ones that we are creating these? No, right? We are just mere observers. We are just mere observers. Everything happening by itself. So do we control the sun rising in the east so expertly and systematically every day in the morning, and sun setting in the west? And do we control the rains? So not only observers, we are also dependent on all of these things. We are not just mere observers, we are also dependent on these things. When we take birth into this universe, on this earth, everything is already expertly, very nicely arranged, right? For example, if there is a mom and a son went to a puppet show, the son sees the puppets and says, so the puppets are so nicely dancing, they're moving here and there, they're talking and all. But is the puppets really animating by themselves, or is there a puppeteer with whose help the puppets are doing what they are doing? So the son wouldn't understand, but the mother knows that there is a puppeteer. Similarly, can we understand, is there a supreme brain, supreme intelligence behind this, who is the supreme puppeteer of this entire universe, which is there's so many things, so many activities happening in this universe, right? Is there somebody who is the puppeteer, who is the controller of this universe? Just like if you put some iron shavings on a piece of paper, right? If you put some iron shavings on a piece of paper and you put a magnet underneath, and you move the magnet, you see all the iron shavings move on the piece of paper, but you cannot see the magnet behind it. Similarly, there are so many things happening in our universe, so much movement is going on. And do you think there is a magnet? Who is that magnet? Who is controlling and who is moving everything so orderly? So if you look at the Oxford Dictionary, the word cosmos means very systematically orderly, harmonious universe. It's called cosmos. So is there somebody who is maintaining this entire creation, entire universe so systematically, harmoniously, in an orderly fashion? So that's what we are going to try to understand in this session. So how to discover if there is a mastermind behind the mysterious universe, how we can identify him, or how we can observe. So how we can study in 5 different ways. We can try to observe these things in 5 different ways. One is our own observation in our day-to-day life, when we go around, in our own observation. Another one is scientists' observation. Who are scientists? Scientists are basically somebody who has a very high intellectual, they have very high IQ. So let us also see what their observations are, what their thought process is when it comes to universal creation. And at the end, we also discuss like a $2 million questions, and then we'll do a small activity. And then we'll also study what's our prime duty. Understanding all these things, what is our prime duty? So the essence of this session is, by observing the world around us scientifically, we can see the hand of the supreme intelligent designer. That is the essence of this session. Let's go. So by observing the systematic and harmonious universe around us, we may get many questions. So if we open our mind, and if we try to see everything, and everything is actually happening so magically, and if we try to question everything, we will understand, try to get answers for those questions just by observing around us. For example, first question is, does God really exist? Right? Suppose if somebody is throwing a satellite, let us say we are throwing a satellite into the outer space. So how does it happen? Can it happen by itself? So there are so many engineers working on the ground. They design a rocket and they lift the rocket, and the rocket carries the satellite and takes it to the outer space, and the satellite is released from the rocket. And once it is released, it's so many people in the control room try to control the satellite and tries to put that in the orbit. And once it goes into the orbit, everybody is monitoring that. Similarly, is there somebody, the supreme intelligent, who is controlling the movement of all these things? Does God really exist? That's a prime question we have to ask. So who creates and maintains this beautiful and harmonious universe? So our observations. Let us start with our observations. Like we discussed, like 5 different points, how we are going to take these sessions towards. So first one is our observation. So the formula is A, B, C, D, E, F formula. Okay. A means artistry. Behind every art, there is an artist. And B is beautiful organization. Behind every beautiful organization, there is a organizer, right? And behind every creation, there is a creator. And behind every design, there is a designer. Behind every energy, every form of energy, there is energetic. And behind every flawless law, there is a lawmaker. We'll study in detail, and we can observe these things in our day-to-day life. So what is the first question comes to your mind upon seeing these paintings? So when you see these paintings, they look so beautiful. They're painted by famous people. So first question is, who is the painter, right? For the first one is a world famous painting, Mona Lisa painting by Leonardo da Vinci. And the other painters, like these famous painters, painted these interesting pictures that are world famous, right? So there is a painter behind these paintings. There is somebody who created these paintings. Similarly, do you think somebody is behind who created these things? So real human being, beautiful human beings, and beautiful mountains, oceans, rivers, and rain, waterfalls like this. And if you see, like if you go to Grand Canyon, how beautiful it is, Grand Canyon, and volcanoes. And these are all real things, right? Real flowers. Do you think there is somebody who created these? Just like somebody has done a so beautiful painting, there must be a painter behind that painting. So beautiful creations like this, do you think somebody is behind this creation? So that is the first question we have to ask. Who is the artist? So suppose if you look at this paper flower, right? So this girl, how to make a paper flower? You need to have a paper and a pair of scissors and the glue stick. So, and not only that, you have to have some artistry. You have to have some intelligence. Not everybody can make it. You have to have some intelligence, and you have to have some artistry to make that beautiful flower. So what do you think of this flower? This is beautiful real rose, and it has petals, sepals, and nice beautiful leaves. And there is androecium, gynoecium. Some of you might have studied in botany. If you go little deeper, it has cytoplasm, all the cells inside, like cytoplasm, protoplasm, nucleus, and the way it gives nice beautiful fragrance, and how delicate and nice it feels in the hand. So the biological complexity and the fragrance and the shapes and the forms. So somebody might have created that. Does it make sense that like somebody has created a paper flower? Do you think somebody has created this beautiful, nice, delicate flower? Is that a question that you can ask and appreciate? So behind every artist, we can, if you carefully observe, there is an artist. Similarly, behind this beautiful creation, beautiful art that we see in our day-to-day life, we can understand that there is an artist, right? Next one is organization. When beautiful organization, behind every organization, there is a organizer. Let us see a small video. This is a video of honeybees. You may not be able to hear the voice. Maybe if you can read through the subtitles, you can. So can you see there are more than a dozen things these honeybees are doing, and so expertly and so intelligently they are organizing their hive. So if a man is proud of his beautiful organizations and corporate organizations or industries and factories, so what do you think of these honeybees? Who is giving the intelligence for these honeybees? So they are expert organizers. So behind this beautiful organization, there is a expert organizers. Can you appreciate that? So let us see another one, like a spider's web, how organized it is. So, I mean, we can keep going on so many things like this in the universe that we can appreciate how expertly these organizers are there behind the creation of these beautiful organizations. Can you appreciate that? So there is an organizer behind every organization. Likewise, like we see wonderful things created by man. The third one is creation, creator. Behind every creation, there is a creator. If you see in our model world, so the sleek, nice, beautiful, expensive cars, like there is somebody might have manufactured it, right? They did not come by themselves or by chance, right? Somebody is there behind who manufactured it, right? If you look at these trendy computers, someone assembled it, right? Somebody designed it, manufactured it, and assembled it, right? And these elegant watches, someone has designed it, right? And design means it has a particular form and shape, and it also has a purpose. Suppose if the same watch washes out onto the shores in the ocean when you're walking, taking a walk on the beach. So when you see that, as soon as you see that, do you think, oh, this is produced by a chance and there is no purpose to it? Do you think like that as soon as you see the watch? No, you would clearly know that, oh, the so and so is the manufacturer, and this is the design of it. You appreciate the design, how beautifully it is designed, and you also appreciate what is the purpose behind it, right? You can appreciate that, right? By just by looking at the watch. And similarly, like architectural marvels, someone has erected the Eiffel Tower, right? Someone has designed it, so much engineering went to it, so many people worked on it, and so many members and columns of the structure have been manufactured by so many people, and they all came together to put it together, right? And skyscraper buildings, and somebody built it, right? Wonderful sculptures. There is a beautiful sculptures like this. Who has sculpted? It cannot cannot come by itself or by a chance, right? Somebody might have carved it, right? So shouldn't this universe have a superior intelligent who created the entire creation also? So by this observation, can we try to question, do you think there is somebody who has a intelligent brain behind this creation, and there is a creator behind this creation, intelligent creator? Can you appreciate that? So behind every creation, there is a creator. And if you look at this sequoia seeds, they are like a centimeter, 1.5 centimeters in length. But when you sow those seeds, you get a giant tree, right? These sequoia trees, if you look at the people sitting next to these trees, how big these trees are. People are tiny, and these are such a huge, massive trees. And the height of these trees goes up to like 275 feet, and the diameter is almost like 95 feet. And if you look at the person standing right next to the tree, he's a tiny person. And even this such a giant tree is packed in a tiny seed. So can you appreciate that there is a creator behind that? Suppose if you put this sycamore tree right next to these things that are shown on the screen, it is taller than the Statue of Liberty, right? Somebody might have created, right? Did somebody, some person have created the Statue of Liberty? Do you think, can you appreciate that the presence of such a huge, humongous tree in a tiny, packed in a tiny seed? Can you appreciate that there is a creator behind that? So if you look at these Intel chips, it's a famous saying, like you see in the TV ads and all, designed by Intel or designed by Apple. You see that things, right? So to design this chip is behind the computer. So it performs so many activities, right? And sometimes the people who design that, sometimes the computer don't function nicely. You have to shut it down, you have to restart, and all these things happen. But who created those chips? The human brains have created those chips, right? And who created the human brain? Who designed the brain itself? And if you try to appreciate the complexity of the brain, let us see a small video. See this Dr. Richard Restak, he says the human brain can store more information than all the libraries in the world. So who created this brain? How this brain has come into creation? So if you look at some of the things the brain can do, it's amazing. So it has like 100 billion neurons, and 40,000 synapses is equivalent to the brain having more connections than the stars in the universe. That is the complexity of brain. So the human brain is the fattest organ in the body, consisting of at least 60% of fat. It is said that when you are awake, the human brain can generate between 10 to 23 watts of power, or just enough to light a light bulb. Isn't this amazing? The information in your brain travels at about 268 miles per hour. Unless, of course, you are drunk or these things then things get really slowed down. So when you yawn the oxygen to the brain, it sends more oxygen to the brain so that it cools down and wakes it up. Isn't that an intelligent design? So on an average, you have 50,000 to 70,000 thoughts a day. So just to create everything that we see around that human beings create, you need a brain, but who is the creator behind that brain? So we have to question that, isn't it? So we have seen some observations in our macro world. Let's try to understand some of the things that's happening in the micro world. So you must have studied Bravy's lattice structures, right? There are 14 different kinds of structures like simple cubic, body-centered cubic, face-centered cubic. These are all different kinds of structures present in different elements. There are so many elements in the periodic table. They are very expertly figured out on all these like noble gases, metals, non-metals, and all these things, and everything has some different kinds of definite pattern shapes in it. It's not random shapes. They have a definite pattern. So suppose, for example, if you change the molecular structure of one thing, the whole thing changes. Let us see an example of graphite. Graphite is a very porous material. You can break it easily, and it has a specific molecular structure. But just the graphite can turn into a diamond, which is the strongest thing in the creation. It is very strong, right? So how a graphite is turning into a diamond? Just by changing the molecular structure. For example, if you change some angles in some molecular structures in certain things, a pungent substance can become a sweet substance, and even it can change the color of it, you can change the smell of it by. So there is a meticulous and precise design that we cannot see with our own eyes, but that is happening inside, right? Isn't it? Suppose if we have to put a satellite into the outer space, like we discussed, there is like a control room where many people are sitting in the control room, and they are 24 hours round the clock, they're monitoring the satellite. And there are so many critical parameters that needs to be monitored continuously, right? So many people are sitting in the control room and they're monitoring it. And imagine a Earth, such a how tiny is the satellite, one satellite that requires so many engineers and so much energy that needs to be controlled, whereas the earth is such a massive object, like that is the weight of the earth, like a 6 multiplied by 10 to the power of 21 metric tons. And how is it rotating in its orbit so nicely in a harmonious way without colliding with anything? How is that happening? Suppose if you look at that in the solar system, the speed around the sun is 106,000 kilometers per hour. So it is so difficult for us to drive at 100 miles an hour on the road. We might collide with something else and we might get into an accident. But how is such a massive object like Earth is traveling at the speed of 106,000 kilometers an hour? Can you appreciate that? How there must be somebody who is controlling it. So, for example, there is a the solar system, right? The Pluto is the ninth planet, and the orbit of the Pluto is in such a way that it sometimes come in between seventh and eighth planet. It's not just concentric like every other planet. It has it's the orbital movement is in such a way that the Pluto comes in between the seventh and eighth planet, and again it goes into the ninth planet. So during that process, is it colliding with any other planet? Can you appreciate that? Is NASA controlling the Pluto? Is a policeman controlling, just like a policeman controlling the traffic? Is somebody? Can you appreciate that? There is somebody who is controlling the entire solar system, the movement of all the planets. So this is the marvelous design in the. There is a marvelous design in the nature. So we can understood from previous slides that there is a creator behind all the creation. Now let us observe designs around us. We'll see a small video. You might have. Sorry. You might have heard this person, right? Fibonacci number. Fibonacci. So it is like a fingerprint of God. What they're saying is, there is a designer, there is an incredible design principles and mathematically formulated equations that you can draw around these designs. If you look at the ocean waves, and if you look at the flowers like sunflowers, and even the galaxies, there is a particular design, and they are calling it as like a fingerprint of God. There is a designer, intelligent designer behind these beautiful designs. Can you appreciate that there is a designer behind these designs? So the next one is energy of the behind every form of energy there is energetic. Let's try to understand what it means. So this is some information about the sun. That is the weight of the sun. Can you even comprehend that? And that is the size of our earth compared to the sun and the other planets, right? The surface temperature of the sun is 5,000 degrees Celsius. The distance to the earth is almost like 150 million kilometers. So isn't that incredible? The position of the sun compared to the rest of the planets. So it is said that the energy emitted by sun per second is greater than the amount of energy consumed by the entire human race throughout the entire history. Can you imagine that? Can you even comprehend that? In 1 second, our sun produces enough energy to meet the current needs of the entire earth for 500,000 years. Isn't that incredible? Suppose, suppose for example, if you throw a stone on a TV, So there is some energy associated with that stone, and that stone goes and hits the TV and it breaks the TV, right? So behind that energy, there is an energetic who is throwing the stone, right? Can you see that? For example, if you have to light a ghee diya, a ghee lamp, what do you need? What do you need? You need ghee. Where do you get your ghee from? First, you have to have a cow, and you have to milk the cow, and you have to boil the milk, and you have to turn it into a yogurt curd, and you take away the cream, you make churn it and make butter out of it, and then you boil it to make ghee, right? And still you cannot light a lamp. You still need a wick. And how do you produce a wick? You have to sow the seeds, and you have to get the cotton, and you make the wick out of the cotton, and then you light the lamp. And by that, you are producing some light energy and heat energy. You're being able to produce by lighting up a ghee lamp, right? Such a small production of such a small amount of light and such a small amount of heat, there is so much involved, and there is people involved in. You have to raise the cow, and you have to give grass to it, and similarly you have to grow cotton. There is energetic behind the energy, right? Similarly, this entire creation, there is so much energy. There must be an energetic behind the energy, right? So the who is supplying energy to the sun? That is the question we can ask, right? Because we see that in our day-to-day life and we take it for granted, but such a massive thing, who is supplying that energy to the sun? So if you look around the world, and the next one is laws. So if you look around in our world, so if you are going to a college, the college starts at 9:30 a.m. in the morning, right? So who made this law? Some lawmaker, like a principal, who made this law, right? And suppose if you're in India, you drive on the left side of the road, and if you're in US, you drive on the right side of the road. So who made that law? So in India, the law was made by Indian Traffic Police, and in US, it's made by the American Traffic Police, right? For example, if you look at the cricket game, there are so many rules. So who made those rules? International Cricket Council. There is some body who makes the laws, right? And if you look at the periodic table, so nicely and expertly arranged elements. You have transition metals, and you have non-metals and metals, gases, noble gases like oxygen, nitrogen. All these things are very important. There is a periodic law, and all these elements did not come by chance, right? There is an expert arrangement in these chemicals, right? Can you appreciate that? So when the scientist Newton, he sat under the tree when the apple fell down on his head. He questioned, like, why did the apple fall down? Why did it not go upwards? Then he discovered the laws of gravitational force, right? So that the laws of gravitation, they're already there. He just discovered it, right? When you kick a football, there is a very nice expert way of you can actually you can draw up a nice mathematical equation in the trajectory of a football, right? There is laws of physics around that, and there is a loss of optics. We see in a mirror, we see our face in the mirror, and when you throw a light on the mirror, it bounces in a different direction. Reflection, refraction, and when you pass light through a prism, how it gives the rainbow colors. There is a loss of optics, right? And laws of thermodynamics. First law of thermodynamics, second law of thermodynamics, energy goes from hot to cold, heat transfers from hot object to cold object. All these things are laws of thermodynamics, right? And in the micro world, in the macro world, there is precise laws of mathematical accuracy, and that is governing this entire world. So a flawless laws has a lawmaker behind it. So can you appreciate that? Can you see there is a lawmaker behind all the laws that we experience in our day-to-day life? Suppose if you look at this one, so there is a people who are beautiful, people who are ugly, some are handsome, some are not so handsome, some are very rich, some are very poor, some are very highly educated, and some are they do not have any education. There are laborers. So if you see that such a disparity in the society, So who decides who decides who these things? Like we can choose certain things, like we can get education, we can get some job, we can try to find a good wife or husband for ourselves, or we can find a nice car that gives us good comfort while we are driving, or we can choose our own apartment, two-bedroom apartment, or a three-bedroom home, or five-bedroom house, like that. We can make some choices, but we cannot choose who our parents are. Isn't it correct? Can we choose who our parents are? And can we choose what our shape of our face can be? So, and there are some people who are extremely intelligent, some people are naturally not so intelligent. So who decides that who should be in so and so, and who is should be like this and who should be like that? So on what basis it is designed? Is it by a chance? Do you think it is by a chance? So there is laws like a law of karma, right? Just like there is laws of so many laws, like in physics, chemistry, in biology, we see, and how some people are rich and how some people are beautiful and how some people are highly educated and some people are not. So there is laws of karma behind it, right? So it is very nicely explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. Karmana daivanetrena jantur deho pattaye sritya pravitya udaram pumso reta kanashrayah. So that means under the supervision of Supreme Lord and according to the result of one's work, the soul is awarded a new body. So that's what the scriptures are saying. So for every action, there is a equal and opposite reaction. If we perform good deeds, if we perform good things, then we have to enjoy good things and we get good results. And if we do bad things, we also have to suffer bad things. This is the law of karma. As you sow, so shall be. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. This is the law behind our creation, laws behind our livelihood, day-to-day lives. So there is a lawmaker behind every flawless law. So by these observations, A, B, C, D, E, F, we can understand that there is some supreme creator, supreme designer, supreme energetic, supreme brain, ultimate genius behind all the creation. Can you appreciate that? So let us see what the scientists' observations are. So Einstein is one of the most intelligent person in our modern generation. What he says is, the Lord God is subtle, but malicious he is not. That's what Albert Einstein said. And he was always curious how God has created this incredible universe. And if you look at physicist Schrodinger, the statement by him is such a very big thing, but the essence of the statement is the science has pretends that it has answers to many questions, or it has answers to all the questions, but it cannot even tell basic things like the color, what color it is, like red, blue, or whether it is sweet or whether it is bitter, and it cannot experience, the science cannot experience pleasure and pain, happiness and delight, or distress, or beautiful or ugly or good or bad. He said that all these things cannot be explained by science. Science acts or looks like it pretends to answer all the questions in these domains, but the answers are very often so silly that we are not inclined to take them seriously. This is a Schrodinger, Nobel laureate physicist. And Lord Kelvin, you know Kelvin, right? Kelvin temperatures, 0 to 5000 Kelvin scale, how you can see the light in different colors. But he's a big scientist, very well-known scientist. What is he saying? If you think strongly enough, you will be forced by science to believe in God. That's the statement made by this great scientist. And if you look at the Sir Isaac Newton, once he made a gyroscope. So the planets this like Earth can rotate around the sun. And one of his friend came to his home and he saw the instrument that he made, and he said like, "Hey, who made this? This looks so nice." And the Newton said, "Well, this is not made. Nobody made it. It just appeared by itself, and it came out by chance. It happened by chance." And then his friend said, "Well, don't joke. I would like to know who made it." because I would like to have one of these in my home too. And then he said, well, if you think there is a designer and who is behind this design, and there is some person behind this behind this nice thing, don't you think that there is some designer behind this entire universe? Don't you think there is a creator behind this cosmic manifestation? And that was the question that he asked his friend. And he says, this most beautiful system of the sun, planets, and the comets could only proceed from the counsel and dominion of an intelligent and powerful being. This being governs all things, not as the soul of the world, but as Lord over all. And on account of his dominion, he is to be called Lord God, universal ruler. That's the statement made by such a great scientist like Newton. And he is appreciating the creation by God. And Max Born, he says, I saw in it the atoms, the key to the deepest secret of nature, and it revealed to me the greatness of the creation and creator. So when he first observed the atoms, then that's what he felt like. It revealed to me the greatness of the creator and the entire creation. Actually, if we read Srimad Bhagavatam, even atoms are so nicely explained. We will discuss it sometime. I'll show you based upon the verses in Srimad Bhagavatam. You can actually clearly figure out the time to the tiny speck of atom. It's amazing. It will amaze you. I will show you sometime later. So in equation, Ramanujan is one of the greatest mathematicians. He said, like, an equation for me has no meaning unless it represents a thought of God. So all these scientists are appreciating God. And Heisenberg, he said, like, there is a higher power not influenced by our wishes, which finally decides and judges. That's what his statement he quoted. And this is Michael Faraday. He's the discoverer of electricity. We ought to value the privilege of knowing God's truth far beyond anything we can have in this world. So if you carefully observe these great scientists, these are some of the finest brains, finest thinkers in the creation. They're I mean, top notch in their intellectual abilities, and these people appreciated this entire creation, and they acknowledged the presence of supreme brain, the presence of intelligent creator behind this entire creation. And next one is a $2 million questions. Let's see. So what is the origin of the universe? Is it a big bang or a big band or an intelligent design or a chance? So there is a concept called Big Bang theory. Everything came by chance. So we'll see how that works and how it won't work. So the answer is intelligent design. And the next question is, what is the purpose of this creation? So the first question is, first possible answer is eat, sleep, and be merry, or make money and pass away. So we can spend all our day, all our life making money, but there will be a point either you have to leave all the money that you have accumulated, or the money will leave you. This is a fact, right? And some people says there is no purpose. So some people really says there is no purpose in the entire creation. That's why they don't even know the goal of life and they commit suicides. They take away their life. We can briefly discuss, like, actually there is a purpose to this entire creation. For example, if you when you're sick, your mental platform and your bodily platform is, let us say, a certain level. So when you become sick, you go to hospital. When the doctor gives you medication, at that time your levels decrease, right? You are not so doing well in terms of physical or your mental abilities. You're not doing well, but you get medication, and when you take the medicine, after some time again you rejuvenate and you become better and you come to your original position. Similarly, when the rainwater falls from the sky, it is pure, right? When it touches the ground, it becomes muddy and dirty, right? But again, when you pass it through filtration system, again you can bring it to pure level, right? It's coming down and it's going up. Similarly, we, the spirit souls, when we have fallen from a higher platform and came into this material world, material platform, and identify ourselves with the three modes of material nature, goodness, goodness, passion, and ignorance, and we identify ourselves with this body, and we entangle ourselves, and then the purpose of this creation is so that to give us an opportunity, to give us a chance to raise ourselves again back to our original position. So how do we know that we have fallen from a higher platform to lower platform? Because of lust, greed, and anger. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, lust, greed, and anger, these three things are the three gates to hell. Three gates to hell. What is lust? I want something. Even if it is a bad thing, even if it's a harmful thing, I want. That is lust. That is called lust. What is greed? I want more. I want keep on accumulating. I want more and more. That is greed. And what is anger? Anger means, why should I not get it? Why shouldn't I should have it? That is anger. So when you have these lust, greed, and anger, uh, that is the signs that we have fallen down from our original platform. The whole purpose of this creation and the reason why we are put into this universe, see, is that so that we will understand our original constitutional position and free ourselves from these coverings of lust, greed, and anger. So to understand God and the life, to understand the ultimate purpose of this life is to love God. That is the purpose of this creation, why we are put into. This is just a brief description. So if you see, like if you see any complicated machine, do you think it came by a chance? This is a universal testing machine. So like any machine, like a computer or a building, even a pen or a pencil, it has a maker or a designer behind it. Logically, the far more complex and awesome universe must also have a super intelligent designer and a producer. So do you think the entire universe came by chance? Can that happen? So is it a big brain or a big bang? Let us see what's Big Bang theory is. According to the Big Bang theory, everything began from a point of infinite temperature, infinite density, infinitesimal size, that is physically indescribable, mathematically unverifiable, beyond all conceptions of space and time. So does it make any sense? So let us see what the Encyclopedia of Britannica says. It should be emphasized that no theory of the origin of solar system has as yet won general acceptance. Till now, there is no theory. All involve highly improbable assumptions. Even the Big Bang theory, which became so popular these days, it's also an absolute assumption. So is there a big brain behind this, or it's just a big bang? See, if you observe the scientists from the old times, they're incredibly intelligent. They have very high intelligence coefficient, but everything they discovered made them appreciate the creator, made them appreciate the designer. They gave credits to God. Whereas if we see now, every scientist and everything, they try to own the credits as if they have created everything by themselves. So that is actually a difference in even the scientific community itself. So let us do a small activity. So let us make a comparison between the government of our country and the universal government. That is, let's just a small observation. So in our national government, we have a home ministry where the law and order and punishments are designed and nicely written out, right? The policies are made, and there is a health ministry, and there is a ministry of energy that produces electricity and gives us sends us all the electricity to our household needs. And there is a finance ministry who takes care of the wealth and currency. And there is a defense ministry, protection from dangers. And there is an education ministry who provides education for the entire citizens. We can see that in our day-to-day life, right? So suppose if we see the similar things in universal government, then we can appreciate that there is a creator behind that, because all the laws and everything that we see on the left side of our national government, it is created by people whom you elected, right? Isn't it? So people are the ones who created these things for their own well-being. But let's see what God has created. So suppose there are some universal laws, just like law and order and punishment. So suppose if you do any illicit activities, then you get a reaction like AIDS. And if you smoke a lot, then you get cancer. If you drink, they will get like problems like liver cirrhosis. Isn't that just like a law, just like a punishment that you get? And suppose if you look at the health ministry, there are so many Ayurvedic herbs in and around this entire earth, right? There is a herb for every disease, right? Who created those? That is for our well-being. God has created, right? Isn't that? So like just like Minister of Energy, there is a sun and moon. See how expertly the sun and moon functions. During the daytime, it gives very nice sunlight, nice bright light and heat. And when it's time to sleep, the moon gives such a nice soothing light. Suppose if the sun is in the night, can you sleep? It is so harsh, right? You cannot sleep. And in your bedroom, you put a nice dim bulb so that you can sleep nicely. Similarly, the presence of moon is so important for the nourishment of plants, and so that you can get all your food grains and fruits and vegetables and all these things. The presence of moon is so important as equally as sun is. During the day, it develops all the energy through photosynthesis, but in the night, it processes and it nourishes itself, and it gives all the nice fruits and vegetables. Isn't that an expert arrangement by God for our well-being? So if you look at finance ministry, it's all we make is just paper currency, right? It's a piece of paper, but God has given us gold, silver, all the navratnas, diamonds and all. Isn't that an amazing creation? So if you look at defense ministry, the purpose of defense ministry is to protect us. Similarly, God has created this ozone around this entire earth so that the ultraviolet rays doesn't come and create harm for us, right? And within our own body, we have a protective system called immunity. Isn't that correct? Suppose if you touch fire, immediately you have a response that you take your hand away from the fire. So that is a protective arrangement in your body, inbuilt in your body, right? There is a defensive mechanism in your body. So isn't that amazing creation? Can you appreciate that? Just like our education ministry has gives education for its citizens, God has also given us so much knowledge through Vedas, Bible, and Quran, all these kinds of knowledge about the universal creations. So even if you look at our Vedas, there are knowledge about Ayurveda, like Ayurveda that about our maintaining our health. Actually, it's very nicely described in Srimad Bhagavatam. Krishna takes reincarnates in the form of Dhanvantari, and he gives us this Ayurvedic medicine. Isn't that amazing? If you look at it, there is Vimana Shastra, and there is so much knowledge about the cosmology in Vedas. All the things that you see, that's NASA gives the position of the sun, position of the moon, and the location of the earth and Jupiter's and all these things are clearly identifiable in Vedas. Isn't that amazing? People you find in India, common people, simple common people can also tell exact precise location of earth and other planets, and precise location of a moon, and precise location of sun through Jyotish Shastra. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing knowledge given by the universal government? So what are the lessons that we can learn from the universal government activities? Behind every government, there is a supreme person, right? Like a prime minister, a president. Behind the universal government also, there is God. Prime Minister maintains and controls the entire country. Similarly, God maintains and controls the whole universe. So the government law abiders live happily. Suppose if you break the laws of the state, what happens? We have to go into the prison, right? Similarly, if we abide by the laws given by the God, you live happily and you will find the purpose of life. If not, you will suffer laws of karma, right? So the unseen is proven by the seen. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Matta parataram nanyat kinchidasti dhananjaya mai sarvam idam protam sutre manigana iva. Oh Arjuna, Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a necklace. In Bhagavad Gita in 7th chapter, Krishna says this. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a necklace. Just like if you have a necklace like this, you can see there are so many beads in this necklace. Once you, they're all held in place by a nylon thread inside, right? Suppose if you break open the nylon thread and all the beads fall here and there. Similarly, what Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita, he's saying the entire creation, everything rests upon me, just like the pearls are strung on a necklace. But can you see the nylon thread behind the necklace, behind those beads? You cannot see, right? Similarly, you cannot see the person who is actually holding everything together. That is Krishna. He says that in Bhagavad Gita. So by doing all these observations, by doing all these things, what is our prime duty? Before going there, I will say, I'll read one verse in Bhagavad Gita. In 10th chapter, Krishna says in 8th sloka, the opulence of the absolute, Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvita. What it means is, I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita that everything emanates from me, all the entire material world and the spiritual creation. Actually, it is said that in the entire creation, only 1/4 of the creation is the material creation. All the universes you see, all the millions and billions of planets you see, it's all only 1/4 of the creation. Of the material world is the 1/4 of the creation. And Krishna says the remaining creation, the 3/4 of the creation is the spiritual world. We don't even have I mean, all we can from this, from the scientific discoveries and scientific observations, what we can perceive is only 5% of the, maybe even less than 5%. 5% of the entire creation. That is what Krishna is saying, is that 5% is also within the 1/4 of the creation. But there is the remaining 3/4 of the creation is the spiritual worlds, right? Can you imagine that how big this entire creation is? Just like our Brahma is known as a Chaturmukha Brahma, right? It is said in our scriptures, Chaturmukha Brahma. The first person in this universe is Chaturmukha Brahma. He has 4 heads, or the father of this universe, Chaturmukha Brahma. There are some universes where they're far bigger than our universe, where the Brahmas have thousands of heads. Can you imagine that? That's what is described in our Vedas. So by knowing all these things, by doing all our observations, scientific observations and our own observations, what is our duty? How can we use that knowledge? So we use our intelligence to appreciate the great creation of God. So by observing, carefully observe, if we take everything for granted, you don't observe. But if you carefully try to observe every minute detail around you that's happening around you, you will start appreciating the creation of this entire universe and the creator, right? So you can use that knowledge to unfold the mysteries of God, God's creation through science to glorify God. For example, there is a scientist in India, I forgot the name. Till that time, people didn't believe that there is life in plants. But his scientific creation, proof unfolded the mystery that even plants also have life, right? Like in last class, we studied a professor named Ian Stevenson. He did so much research in reincarnation, and he glorified the creation of God through his research. So that is our duty when we study these things in a scientific way, in a different other different ways. We have to appreciate the creation and the creator behind this creation, and we use that knowledge to understand and explain the purpose of Lord's creation, which is to love God and love all. So to utilize everything for the pleasure of God and welfare of all. See, We can use everything in the service of God. For example, we are using this laptop in service of God. We are discussing about Bhagavad Gita. We are discussing about the creation. So we can like microphones, speakers, and gadgets and everything. Actually, every profession, everything around our creation, everything can be used in the service of God. So let us go through the summary real quick. So first, what did we study? Our observations. So artist, there is an artist behind every art. There is an organizer behind every organization. There is a creator, designer, energetic, and lawmaker behind the laws and the designs and the creation energy. You can observe these things, right? Can you observe those things in our day-to-day life, and you can appreciate? And scientist observation, we studied about the scientist observation, and we also asked the $2 million questions. What are those two questions? Who is there an intelligent creator behind this creation, and also what is the purpose of this creation? Who created the universe and what is the purpose? And we also made a small activity, the difference between the national government and the universal government. And by observing all these things, and we also understood what is our duty. Can you appreciate these things? So Lord Brahma says in Brahma Samhita. So see, in this session, what we studied is what we try to analyze is behind the creation there is a creator. Now we also have to study about who is that creator. Now we are just trying to understand, is there a supreme intelligent brain? Is there somebody behind this entire creation, entire everything that is happening around us? So we just try to tap into that. But once we are convinced that there is somebody behind this creation, now we have to observe, now we have to study who is that creator. So just to give you a glimpse, I just read a verse in the Bhagavad Gita, right? So I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. So is there any person who can say that? Can you or can me, can myself say that? So that I am the source of this entire creation? Can you say that? Anybody can a normal person or even a scientist, a great thinker, can somebody say that? So somebody who said that I am the creator, isn't that an extraordinary thing to know that you are learning about the creator himself? So Lord Brahma, who is the first foremost person in this universe, he says in Brahma Samhita, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. Sarva Karana Karanam. Sarva Karana means the cause of all causes. Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana. Adir, Anadir Adir means the first most person. Is the father of all the fathers. I mean, he's the grandfather kind of like. And he says that Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchit Ananda Vigraha. Satchit Ananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda. Govinda means, who is Govinda? Govinda means Govinda. Go means cows. Vinda means one who gives pleasure to cows. And who is that? Krishna, right? Govinda. Sarva Karana Karanam. Lord Brahma is praising Lord Krishna that he is the primeval creator, or he is the cause of all causes that is happening around us. Can you appreciate and can you think around this topic, and can you try to make observations around you and see if there is a creator behind this creation? What do you think? I mean, do you have any questions behind this? Do you have any discussions that we can discuss? Is there anybody?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, so it is a wonderful presentation, and I think as a gist, we say that if there's a creation, there's a creator, and one of our prime duties is to observe or him in everything. It's intellectually, it's we can understand that, but unless we actually experience it within ourselves, it's very difficult to be in that consciousness all the time, which is what we are kind of working towards, right? Or that's what the Gita is asking us to do, that be in that consciousness all the time. But if we don't experience it within ourselves, that we are also creation and that the creator is within us, until that happens, it becomes like an exercise which it's not practical to, because we've been given duties to do karma, to do action, and we also have been given these senses and which are outwardly external, and then we've been given ahamkara, which all makes it very difficult to remember that, it's not me who's doing, it's not me who's thinking, it's not me who's even feeling the divine within me, unless he graces upon me. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yes, Mat, that is a very, very good point. Actually, we are so much covered in our day-to-day activities,
Right.
in our day-to-day duties, and we don't invest in it. Actually, that is why it is very important. It is called sadhana. That's why it is
Right.
called sadhana. I mean, in previous ages, like in Satyuga and all, sages used to meditate for thousands and thousands of years to get
Yeah.
to come to this conclusion, to realize the Paramatma in their own heart.
Yeah, but the
So,
challenge, the challenge is the human design of having the ahamkara, having the senses, having to also do, we cannot just leave everything and just sit and just remember God. Like we have
well,
to function.
we don't have to leave everything. It is
Yeah.
actually once we read the remaining part of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, right? What is that? Sri Bhagavan Vacha Anashritha karma palam karyam karma karoti yaha sa sannyasi cha yogi cha naniragnirna chakriyah naniragnirna chakriyah naniragnirna chakriyah means a person who does not light a Agni, Nani Ragnirna Chakriya, or who does not perform an activity. Such a person is not called as a sannyasi or a yogi.
Right.
But what in the next verse, what does he say? Anashritha karma palam karyam karma kar as a sannyasi cha yogi cha naniragnir chakriya. I forgot the next verse.
It's okay.
In next verse, what he says is, I mean, you perform these activities, but you don't get attached to the results of these activities.
Right.
See, and this is a process, Mataji. This is a process. That's why it's called as sadhana, sadhaka. You are the sadhaka,
Correct.
and you follow the process called sadhana, and you achieve the final goal. It's called like initial. So Vedas has given us all this knowledge. We have the knowledge. You have the information. First, you can call it as an information. So first of all, you have to learn it, and you understand. The first basic thing is understanding,
Right.
and then you realize it in your own life. That's why it is called a self realization.
Correct.
Our Hindu dharma, Sanatan dharma doesn't force upon you.
Right.
It gives you the time to realize yourself. See, because you cannot love somebody by force, can you? If somebody put a gun at your
Correct.
on your say that, will you love me? So that's not what Krishna wants. Krishna wants you to realize by yourself and then develop love for him.
Right.
So you cannot force yourself to love somebody, right? Similarly, Krishna doesn't want to force you. So
Right.
he gives you, and people complain that, oh, why did if there is a God, why did he create so many problems in this universe, in this on this earth? Actually, if you carefully observe, he did not create many problems. We are the ones who are creating those problems. He
Correct.
gave us so many things for our well-being, like air to breathe, sunlight and food grains and rain. So can you drink salt water? We cannot. He created the entire process of evaporation, natural evaporation, and then formation of clouds, and then from the clouds you get the sweet water that you can drink, right? So
Right.
is he not providing you all these things? So we can complain that why are there so many problems in this universe, but Krishna is actually providing all this for your well-being.
Correct.
That we can appreciate, right? So we are the ones who are actually creating all these problems without understanding our actual constitutional position and actual creator and actual God and why he created it and the purpose, because we don't invest in it. We don't even, all we have to do is spend some time that's given to us.
Correct.
we can perform our activities, we can continue doing our dharma, we can continue doing our karma. I mean, Krishna says, Ijñātāt karmanonyatra lokoyam karma bandhana tadartam karma kauntaya mukta sangha samachara. Krishna says, perform every activity as an offering to me. Ijñātāt karmanonyatra. You perform every activity, that's your prescribed duty, as an yajna, not as to gratify yourself. Then you can become free from karma. That kind of activity is called akarma. There is called karma, akarma, vikarma, and we'll read those things in our future classes. So if all we have to do is just take out of our 24 hours. I mean, we spend like in eating and sleeping and doing our activities. I mean, all 24 hours is gone. If we can dedicate a little bit of time and start slowly, try to understand, or have an open mind and try to understand and try to read about God and learn about God, and then do some sadhana practice, and then you can slowly realize Krishna in your own heart, in Paramatma, as Paramatma.
Right.
All we have to do is just put some time into it.
Yeah, I agree. Yes.
Any other questions, Madhu?
No, thank you. That was good.
Okay,
Thanks.
so we'll conclude here.
Thank you.
I think it's almost time.
Yes.
So we'll catch up next week
Right.
with a new topic.
Okay. Thank
Thank
you.
you very much.
Thank you for joining. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.